Hi, I'm Nikki Muniz, and this is my podcast, Come to Mind. I'm so excited about my guest today, Toni Quinne.
Hi, I'm Nix.
How's it, Toni? This is going to be awesome because I've known Toni for many, many years and watched a journey unfold, and I'm really excited for Toni to get to share part of that with you guys and for me to hear more about where she is right now.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Nikki. Nikki saved my life, you guys. That's all I have to say, and I love you and I respect you, and I'm so honored to be here.
Thank you, Toni, and thanks for making this time today.
No, thank you for inviting me.
Do you want to just take a couple minutes and introduce who you are, what you do, and why have you here today?
Okay. So my name is Toni Becker, but I'm known as Toni Quinne online. It's my little pseudonym. And I'm a recovering addict. I've been sober for 8 years now. And it's 8 years.
Sure.
8 years, so yeah.
It's crazy.
Sorry, that was a moment. I've been sober for 8 years, and I am in recovery from an eating disorder, anorexia and bulimia. And I would say I've been in proper recovery from that for about nearly 3 years. And what I've done is I started a YouTube channel called The Truth Hurts. I've had Nikki on it. You must check that episode. It's one of the most popular episodes we have.
That's so amazing.
And I started that channel, and it's a channel about recovery. It's about sharing other people's stories and hearing their journeys without judgment and having open and honest conversations about addiction, about mental health, where that's no hold bar. No hold bars. Is that how you say
No
it?
hold bar.
No hold bar. God. And I'm a copywriter. But yeah, so I just want to share my truth, and I want to share other people's truth, and I want to kind of break the stigma around mental health, eating disorders, and addiction.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I really want to talk about body image today. And if you don't mind, I'd like to give a little bit of a history of how I actually met you in the first place. So I met Toni 8 years ago when her dad gave me a call. It was late one night, and basically Toni was on death's door.
Mm-hmm.
Between her eating disorder and her drug use, it was out of control, and her dad knew he needed to do something urgently. That night for me, Toni, it sticks with me, and I know it does with you too, for so many reasons, obviously. And I watched you fight the addiction battle, and really, like you were winning the battle on one hand, and on the other hand, you weren't. And part of your struggle was the catalyst for the journey that I've been on to want to know more. I mean, my primary disorder, I suppose, is an eating disorder. And it was what took me down the road of addiction initially. And it's something that I struggle with still on a daily basis. There's never a full reprieve, I think. And just watching that shift from, really letting it run your life to you being able to own it and make things different. So what has that been like for you?
Well, you got me, hey, just a background, my father phoned Nikki. I was locked in a room at the Houghton Golf Estate and he wouldn't let me out. He was in the bathroom. And he phoned Nikki, and that's the night that changed my life. And I lost my father 3 years ago to a really, really bad battle with cancer. And the last thing he said to me before he passed was, just promise me this isn't going to kill you. The eating disorder is not going to kill you. And from that moment on, I decided to try as hard as I can to make the shift and to make the change. And that's what I've done. So thank you for being a huge part of that journey. And I know my dad thanks you for that. So I think that's just something I just want to add. So in terms of body, sorry, I got a little sidetracked there.
Well, I think that, on the one hand, anorexia particularly is a mental illness. Mm-hmm. And so it's not just about body image, but of course body image does tie into it.
Hugely. hugely.
So that's kind of the focus that I want to talk about, because we can't deal with one without the other. And you have really taken ownership, and it's so powerful in the way you feel about your body today. And I would love for you to be able to share some of how you got to that point and where you are, warts and all, the full Monty.
Yes, okay. So, I actually do have body dysmorphic disorder. So that's the primary. From that came anorexia, from that came bulimia. So body image is a massive thing. And for me, when I was a kid, the first thing I focused on was my face, which is I still battle with that today. So when I was a kid, I remember stealing my mom's makeup when I was 9 years old, and that was the first time I started wearing makeup, because some dude, I remember you to this day, bro, I remember your name, Shane, he's a cool guy, he mocked me when we were in class, and he was like, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, because I have terrible circulation. So that became this obsession. And I think it didn't help that I come from such an attractive family. Like, my mom is beautiful, my dad was a very good-looking man, and my brother's a good-looking boy. And I always felt like I had let everyone down because I wasn't that level, of beauty, especially as a kid. So I started wearing makeup, and then that just became an obsession, covering my face, learning how to change my face. I remember plucking my eyebrows until, I was bleeding, but I was 9. And shaving them off to this day. Don't do that, guys. Don't do that. This is trauma. And that's where I became completely obsessed with how I look. And it ruled my whole life. Like, I wouldn't wear shorts because of my bad circulation. I didn't want anyone to see, like, my legs being a bit off color, and wearing makeup, doing my hair. When I was about 11, there was a woman, and she was my mom's best friend at the time, and she used to bully me. And she used to mock my hair because it was really curly and really thick. And, when you're a kid, that sticks with you. When you're a kid with body dysmorphic disorder, it really sticks with you. So I remember climbing onto the cupboard in my dad's and my mom's bathroom, and I took his razor, and I took a scissor, and I cut, because the one side of my hair wouldn't go straight over here, and I cut that off, and then, it was like this. I was like, I'm going to shave it. So I shaved the side of my head, but it grew back looking like like sideburns. So I got bullied for that. So I went to school thinking I'd fixed it, but growing back, it looked like I had sideburns, and I had become self-conscious about my hair from that moment. And it was just this constant cycle. And going into high school, obviously that was heightened. So primary school was difficult, and high school it became my primary obsession. And I wanted to be pretty, and I wanted to stand out. And that's when I started putting on mask after mask after mask and molding myself to try to find a character that I would be happy with, because I wasn't happy with my body and being in the body that I have. So, comes Form 1, grade 8, new school. I thought, okay, I'm going to be part of the preppy girls, the popular girls. I have to fit in with them. I know them from my previous school. It'll be fine. So I put on that facade, I went to school, I put on a face of makeup. I put my hair back. I had the butterfly clips back in the day, and I walked in, and what happened was those girls never really accepted me. And it was because I thought differently, and I listened to different music, and I always had this weirdness to me that they didn't understand, and that my family didn't understand. So in that year, in December holidays, they all went to Cape Town, and I was lucky enough to go to London with my family. It was for the millennium. And I got a phone call. You're right. No, it wasn't. I got my period that year and that holiday, and didn't go out for the new year because I was feeling so sorry for myself. Sorry. And so when I got home, they phoned me and they said, listen, you're too weird to be our friend, whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. And this is also a bit of manipulation on my part, trying to navigate my way through school and protect myself. I was like, they think I'm weird, I'm going to show them weird. And I rocked up that year with jet black hair, black makeup, scribbles on my school bag of metal songs and lyrics, And that was my high school. It was constantly going from look after look after look and trying to stand out in my own way and be pretty. And that's when the eating disorder happened. That was the next year. On my December holiday seems to be a theme here. A very good friend of mine who's become a very good friend of mine again, and I went on holiday together with my family, and she had developed an eating disorder. And I started watching her get all this attention, and all this attention was on her. And someone said to her, "You look like Posh Spice." And I noticed her getting all the attention, and that's when I got jealous and I got envious. And I was like, why am I never getting attention? Why is everyone in my life always prettier, always doing better, and I'm just on the sidelines? So I think, and I genuinely mean it, consciously I made a choice to get an eating disorder. And I was like, I'm going to starve myself. I'm going to do this. And I want the same attention that she's getting. So I did, without realizing that I would actually develop a real one, because a real one that would ruin the rest of my life, and one that would lead me down a path of addiction, of self-harm. And this girl, who's now, I say, one of my very good friends, she got well and moved on with her life. And I didn't, and I stayed stuck with that. And my worrying about my face, worrying about my hair became second to worrying about my weight and wanting to be the thinnest at all times, and worrying about food, which escalated into becoming genuinely fearful of food, genuinely fearful of a mirror, fearful of changing rooms, fearful of everything around me, going out, having people comment on, "Oh, you're looking healthy," or "Oh my God, you don't look well," because anything triggered it. And then after all of that, that was my obsession, and then I found drugs. And sorry, this is quite long. Please interrupt me.
I will.
Okay. Then I found drugs, met a guy. It's always how it starts. Met him, found drugs. Now the drugs made the eating disorder and anorexic voices go away. Because first of all, I knew I wasn't going to eat anyway, and I had something else to obsess about. So that ease, it was actually genuinely a relief to have that voice taken away. And
so relate to that.
Right?
Made it easier.
So much easier. It's like, oh wait, I don't have to don't take this, if anyone's listening, don't take this as advice. But
do not try this at home.
Do not try this at home. So it kind of took that away, and it was so nice to have that ease, And then that became my life. So I went from the body dysmorphic disorder to the anorexia to a drug addict. And, and I could also hide my addiction by telling my mom and other people, I'm just struggling with my eating at the moment. That's why I've lost so much weight, when in fact it's from the drugs, and they were in denial about that for a long time. And when I got caught with the drugs, I was admitted into my first rehab, which was a drug rehab. I convinced them to move me to the eating disorder unit because I said I've got an eating disorder, because I was more comfortable in the eating disorder unit than the drug unit. And it was a cycle. Then I found recovery. I'm just going to rush through this part.
Sure.
Found recovery after my dad locked me in the bathroom. That was my third rehab. After Nikki was phoned. After Nikki was my counselor and said the hard truths that I needed to hear at that point in my life. I don't know, you triggered something in me that made me realize I needed to change or I was going to die, for real. And once I put the drugs down, everything else just came back in a wave and just consumed me, because I knew I couldn't go back to the drugs and I didn't want to, but I had that other thing, that other thing that the voices just came back and I let them take over.
So what role do you think social media, comparisons to other people, actors and actresses, magazines, what role do you think they played in, how you started going down this road?
Nikki, if you had to see my journals from back then, I had what I called, this is really sad and this is pathetic, and a lot of girls do it, a lot of guys do it, so I think it's something that I do talk about a lot, is I had a pro-anorexia journal. And there are pro-anorexic communities online, on social media, and I'm talking before MySpace, before Instagram, they existed, and I found them when I was a kid. I was 14, 15, and I found them. And on these pages, to this day, they have what they call real girl thinspo, which is pictures of random, very anorexic or very underweight girls online, and they have albums of that. And they have celebrity thinspo, which is a massive thing. It's a massive thing, especially in that generation when we had Mary-Kate Olsen, we had everyone, every single actress you can think of.
Nicole Richie, it was like that whole...
Nicole Richie was my hero. She was my hero. I had her cut out in my journal everywhere. Mary-Kate and Nicole. They were the people I loved and wanted to be like, even started dressing like them. So celebrity culture, social media come together. You get a pro-anorexic culture. You get a culture that encourages you to starve, that tells you how, and creates a community of support with other girls talking to each other online, giving advice, which I actually found old emails recently between me and a girl in the States. She was, it breaks my heart, I can't remember how old she was. She was 13 or 12 or something like that. And I was in my 20s on drugs, talking to her and telling her about my eating disorder. So there are communities online, and parents need to know that. There are communities online that encourage it. There are cutting communities.
Yeah, it's absolutely horrific. I think, I often tell my kids that, sure, I did like hectic stuff when I was growing up, but we didn't have access to internet and social media like they do now. And it's absolutely terrifying. And that the biggest worry is that we compare ourselves to people that don't actually even look like that in real life.
God,
it's all edited and like smoke and mirrors, and we're struggling and trying to get ourselves to look like something that's been edited in like on a computer.
Okay, with that, I have so much to say about that because it frustrates me. It makes me angry because it's affected me, and it's affected everyone around me in the whole world. So there are women online that edit their bodies and their waists and their faces and their hair, everything you can, to turn them into something impossible, a standard that no living human being can reach. And you look at that and you see that the millions of likes on these photos, and you see the affirmation this person is getting, the fame, even though if they walked out in public, you wouldn't know who they were. That's it. And you see that and you're like, why can't I be that? Why can't I be that? And that it's terrifying. And recently, because now I joke about it, but Insta-ho, so I do a lot of photo shoots, and it's mostly just because of the tattoos and stuff like that. So I do those, and recently I did a photo shoot with someone, and they sent me the photos back. This oak changed my hair, changed my nose, changed my eyes, changed my lips, and it looked like he actually put the photo like through one of those apps that you get and just changed me.
Like a filter. Just pass it through a filter.
Just that, and he sends to me and he's like, do you like these? I was like, there's no way in hell I will post those on my Instagram. At least that is one thing I can stand by. Yeah, obviously some of the photos I have are edited. There's like mad shit going on in the background. Sure. They'll smooth the face a little bit. Fine, but do not change my face or my body, because that to me is the most dangerous thing in the whole world. And seeing that fucked with me. Sorry, can I swear? Seeing that messed with me. I'm like, am I not pretty enough that he has to change my whole face? And you sit there and you think, I'm not. I'm obviously not. And then the body dysmorphia comes in.
Sure. And I think that's one of the things I've really admired about watching your growth, in that you own your body and you post stuff that is like out there and risky and sexy, and it's that fine line of being like needy of other people's acceptance and affirmation, and then on the other side it's about like owning, this is me, like I like me, like I'm really proud to show me to the world.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's I suppose the work that I do, and why it excites me so much is that it's about self-acceptance.
It's interesting because I could say, I do it because I own my body now, but I would say it is for affirmation, it is for validation, and it started off like that. I did a post that went viral, not viral, it went on the trending page of Instagram, and I got like thousands of likes, and then all these followers started coming in, and it kept happening, and I was like, ooh, let me see how far I can push this, how far I can push it. And it stopped being about me being proud that I am looking healthy now and I'm happy in my body, and it became about how many followers can I get, like how far can I push this? And only when that started infiltrating my life where it was like, I started obsessing. Every weekend I need to organize a photo shoot. Why isn't this photographer offered a concept? Why, all this kind of stuff. And it got in the way of my relationships. I was like, wait, this is like drugs. You just want the next fix, the next fix, the next fix. So in the beginning of the year, I thought, you know what, I'm turning 35 this year. Reel that in. Work on stuff you want to do that makes you happy. And stop creating content for the sake of creating content. And that's, I think, where the shift.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I listen to my children and I tell them I'm recording podcasts, and my son, first thing, how many people have listened? How many likes do you have? And I'm like, yeah, and I'm trying to explain to him, I'm talking about things that I find really important. Other people may or may not find them important, but they're important to me. And I try and bring his focus back to that point, and he really struggles. And I can see that that's the impact of like the generation that's up and coming right now. And for me, in terms of body image, are there parts of myself that I would like to change? Sure. But it's about like growing through that part of myself that is about, there's stuff I have to just accept. Unless I'm prepared to go for surgery, that's it. And then there's parts of me, if I want to get more muscle, if I want to lose a few kilos, then I need to take responsibility for changing that. And I need to be sure that I'm doing it for me. That's the big thing.
That's the difference.
And making sure that the way that I talk to myself it's like key to everything.
That's it.
It's the foundation that where I shift into needing that affirmation and acknowledgement from others, because what I'm saying to myself is so derogatory and mean, versus if I'm like, this is me, like I want to show you, and I'm willing to share that with you. And it's such a different experience.
That's funny. That's like, you try to figure out, and I'm trying to pinpoint what the actual change is, because there's been a massive shift in my thinking in the last 3 years. Massive. Like, I genuinely don't look in the mirror and want to punch it, and I don't want to physically harm myself because of what I see. Obviously, there's days where I'm down about what I look like. It's part of, my psyche, but I can manage it. And you know why? It's because I'm talking to myself. I'm being kind to myself. I'm not constantly saying, you're not worth it, which I used to say out loud all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if, we're coming to a close, and I'd love to know if there's a message that you've got for, not even just the next generation, people our age that are struggling with this stuff now, because this is not an age thing. This is a life thing.
Yeah.
That we are constantly on this comparison, like fight mode all the time. What can you tell people that's going to help them in the moment?
I'll tell you what helped me. And what shifted my thinking, and again, bringing it back to my father, was I was I had spent my whole life starving myself, hurting myself, hating myself, not liking what I see, not liking being alive. And I was slowly killing myself. And I was sitting in a room, and I watched as my father got told he had 8 months to live. And I watched the man sink into the chair. And I looked at him and I was like, oh my God, he's going to die. He's going to die. Like, he's actually going to die. And I realized in that moment what I was feeling, looking at him, is what he had been feeling my whole life. When is Toni going to die? When is Toni going to die? She is going to die. And that for me was a very big eye-opener, because we don't realize, especially when we're young and we're on social media and everyone seems to have this fake life that's just exceptional, it's going to end. And it's not going to, it ends on terms beyond your control. And you need to make a decision about how it takes you. And for me, I was not going to let my disease and my illness, because it is that, take me the way cancer took my father, because it was a cancer, but a cancer I could fix if I chose to. And I chose to, and it was hard and it was difficult. And I put boundaries in place where it was like, okay, you're not going to post these photos online that show off how skinny you are. You're going to slowly post photos of your face, of your friends being happy, so you take that focus away. You're going to unfollow every single account that inspired that self-hatred. You're going to eat. You're going to sit with those feelings. You're going to let the hatred wash over you. You're going to force your behavior to change, and in time, trust that your thinking will change. And I did that, and I started living a life, and like addiction, giving up the eating disorder, I started building up a life that was getting better and better, and it became too much to lose. And that is, if you want to have a fulfilling life, and if you want to love yourself and find love, you need to stop, take a moment, put down boundaries, and focus on what it is you love, what you are passionate about. Indulge in that. Find real friends. Say no to the shit around you. And just focus on that and focus on your life. And remember that nothing you see online is real.
Love that. I think that that's probably the most powerful message that we can give people. And like this, we've given one body. You know, I go to the petrol station and I'm like making sure to put in 93 instead of 95 into my car that I can replace.
Yeah.
If anything goes wrong. And yet about myself and to myself, I act as if I've got like tons of myself to spare, and I don't, you know. And I would hate to get into a place where, you know, I haven't made the most of honoring and respecting the body that's been given to me and that I've abused, and it's still kind of ever faithful and always there for me. And I think that part of dealing with body image issues and changing the way that I talk to myself and the way that I think about myself is exactly that. It is that it's my ability to change how I can function in this world and to change how I feel about life in general, not just about myself.
Yes.
And I really want to thank you for making this time and to share so openly and honestly. I really appreciate that. And for like you having an impact on people's lives in the fact that you are so open about the experiences that you've had and how you've taken back your power. Thanks, Toni.
Thank you, Nikki. It's just an honor to be here, really. Yeah, I love you. You're my hero.
Thanks, Toni. Love you.